Welcome to Inside Design with Kandrak and Cole, hosted by two nationally published Atlanta interior designers, Joanne Kandrak and Kelly Cole. These energetic women are also world travelers, charity givers, and bloggers with a wealth of information to share and stories to tell about the interior design world. Okay, now just a warning, this is going to be fun and not too serious. After all, they still do have an interior design business running at full speed.
Hello, everybody. This is Joanne, and we are Inside Design with Kandrak and Cole. We are now on episode 20, I believe.
Oh, my goodness.
Our topic today is nightmare clients.
This is one everybody wants to hear about.
And I think we all have them. It doesn't matter what business we're in. And so we just have to learn how to deal with them. So generally, we have a wonderful client base. There's a lot that we've worked with for years. Then there's other people who we've done one project for maybe, but most of the time they're pretty good, but there are some that are just a little bit challenging.
Yeah. So we've talked about this before, but we do have a qualifying system here in the office. And so generally speaking, we've kind of vetted out those clients that really we feel will be good partners with, and they with us. But once in a while, that crazy whacko slips through the cracks. And it's generally some that where we didn't see any red flags in the beginning, and then they did like a Jekyll and Hyde head spin thing, or we saw maybe a few, but we thought they were minor, and then maybe they got worse. So anyway.
But so we've been doing this 13 years, and I would say there's maybe 5, which...
That's not bad.
It's not bad.
Although
5 that really stand out. There's other little quirky things, but we're talking the Jekyll and Hyde, like, wow.
Yeah. And
this
I think...
person's wacko.
And there is such a thing as firing a client. We have... Okay, maybe we've had a few more than 5 wackos, but we have fired more than 5. We have fired, where we just say, you know what, we're at a point where we have fulfilled our obligations, and this isn't a good fit, and we can't go further with you. Yeah. So, and generally they agree. So, okay. Red flags.
Red flags. One of the biggest one, and I think a lot of our designer friends share this with us. They've worked with other designers that didn't work out.
Yeah.
So,
and they'll tell you this whole sob story about how they were
taken advantage of. The person didn't do what they wanted. And 9.5 times out of 10, it wasn't the designer's fault.
Yes. The other one, these seem minor, but they just add up. Like if a client calls and they want to meet late in the evening or on weekends. You don't ask your doctor or your dentist or your lawyer to meet with you late on the evenings or on weekends. So, we're that same type of professional. So please value our time and treat it as such. And this is kind of a special appointment where you need to take time off from work to meet with us.
Yes, this is your home. This is a big deal. This is a big conversation. Or the other one is if they have their phones with them and are kind of answering their phones in the middle of this meeting. It's sort of a disrespectful kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. So that's the other one. Another big one is they are questioning the rates. They're looking for some kind of a bargain or a deal, and they'll ask to lower your fees.
And that's just never going to happen ever. Our fees are our fees are our fees, and they're never going to lower. And if you ask, then they're especially not going to lower. But generally, that question comes around on the qualifying end when they call in, where they say, does the consultation fee go towards anything?
Which is a little legitimate question, but if we're in the city of Atlanta, generally traffic, even if somewhere's not that far, we're still sitting in traffic. We will spend, a couple hours there. We're going to take photos. We're going to measure. It's a working meeting. Yeah. So that money, we've earned that.
Yes.
It's not like, oh, okay, you get this in your little bank and then it goes towards something else.
Yeah.
No.
This is a red flag that happens generally during the consultation, where we've gotten so far as going to their house, and we just have to squash it right away in a polite way. But they'll say, My great aunt Bertha does some window treatments. Well, she did back in the day. I'm sure she would make these for me. Or, my cousin's best friend has a carpet shop out in Timbuktu. They probably give me a deal. Would you mind if I didn't work with your your people on those things and did that on my own? No.
That would be just like going for my physical and telling my doctor, well, you know what? My sister-in-law, she's a nurse practitioner. Can I have her go ahead and do my blood pressure and do the testing and we'll just send you the results? Like, no, this is a package deal. We are in charge and we have to take control of it because we don't know what Aunt Bertha's sewing skills are.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's really just a quality assurance thing, but we have to nicely say, don't worry, we'll take good care of you. And it's really better if we're handling all the logistics. So, but it's just one of those little red flags.
The person's a nightmare.
No.
But these are the little things that sometimes add up to the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end. And we learned, we heard this in what was it? It was we were at a presentation or somebody was talking about, and they said, and now pay attention to this if this ever happens to you, because now I notice it all the time.
Me too.
They said, if you walk into your client's home and the client does not offer you something to drink, the level of respect for your profession and what you're there to do is it possibly couldn't be realized. You know what I mean? Like this is all kind of respect things. Some of them we're talking about. And now I notice it. Like we'll go, just asking, would you like something to drink or is just a courtesy. But
for really anybody that comes into your home, really.
But for example, this is just something little, but it just illustrates this. We'll show up for an install, and a lot of times we're there from morning till night, and it's a lot of work. And we always bring our lunch, and we've got lots of snacks, and it's no big deal. But the nicer clients will say, help yourself to the fridge. I've got extra Diet Coke and water for you guys.
Oh, but the really nice clients will not mess with the thermostat. So when we're there and it's 100 degrees in Atlanta and they're conserving energy when they're not home during the day, but we're there.
Yeah.
It's really, really tough.
Oh, that is such a big one. I'm sure they just don't think about it.
Right.
But we have had some clients that said, I turned down the air for you because I knew it would be a hot day. And we're like, God bless you.
We've had 2 clients who have made lunch for us.
Yes.
And that was not that we would expect that at all, but it's just really, really a nice thing for people to do.
It's very sweet.
Yeah.
So these are just little. So think about this again. A lot of the things we talk about are not just for interior design, but if you have a contractor come into your home, like Amy, who works in our office, she's like the queen bee of she's always got contractors working in her house, and she makes lunch for them. Mm-hmm. She always has a cooler out on the deck for them. They're doing. She's got these landscape guys that have been doing a lot of work.
You'll get treated a little better.
Well, they put her first.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
sure. It's true. Okay, another red flag. Champagne taste beer budget. A lot of us have this.
Yes.
But another key thing is they're constantly bringing up HGTV. Mm-hmm. And we've said this before. A lot of what you see on HGTV is unrealistic.
So true.
Yeah. So then, they have like this long list of things they want to do, and their budgets are very unrealistic. And you can see the disappointment, and they're looking at us like, well, we want a beautiful home. Can you figure it out? Mm-hmm. Like, here's our money. It's not much, but what can you do?
And thankfully, we don't run into this too much because Amy's kind of given them the 911 on the phone and kind of given them some realistic things to think about. But like we talked about in our last show, doing a lot of research before you call us so that you can then become a dream client versus a nightmare client, this is kind of one of them. So anyway, the other thing that is just uncomfortable for us. Well, it just is one of those qualities that lends itself to a nightmare client, is clients that overanalyze everything and cannot make a decision. And generally, this lends itself to that trust factor that we talked a lot about in our last show, where so we do the whole presentation and they'll say, well, I really like it, but I'm not sure. And then we had a client who would go home, do some research on her own, and send them back to us going, what do you think about this? Well, don't ask me. I gave you 100% on the presentation. That's what I thought you should do.
I think there's this issue of, okay, if I make the decision, I say yes to this, I might see something else. So it's almost like it would never happen because they're afraid to commit. And then they're maybe looking at something singularly, and maybe that piece doesn't make sense to them. It's not something they would normally do, but the whole room, you have to look at the whole thing. You can't look at one thing in particular. That's why I think sometimes when people are, doing it for themselves, and they'll go somewhere and they'll be like, well, I really like that lamp, but, well, you can't just buy the lamp. It's got to work with all these other things. So that's part of what I think people, when they're indecisive, is they're kind of afraid to let go, to make that decision, to let you make the decision.
And the nightmare client doesn't let go completely to us.
Yeah.
And so, they obviously can't do it, but yet they can't quite
and this
let
is
go.
This is what we call the over-analyzation paralyzation.
Totally.
Because you analyze to the point that you never do anything.
And then they ask their friends and their sister and their auntie, who none of them have taste or experience either. So then they start spinning like the Tasmanian devil.
What do you guys think of that that table? We're like, it's nice. Well, my friend Judy up the street, she thought it looked a little small. And then, my Aunt Betty thought it wasn't the right color. Oh my God.
We just told you
it
was good and it'll work. Leave them on the curb. Like, I just don't. It's yeah. So we sound like we're really being B words, but no, we're just telling it like it is in our business. Everybody thinks, oh, your job is so fantastic. You just get to shop all day. Yeah, well, people, we're going to tell you a few stories now, and this is where it gets really juicy, and where our engineer Russ was like, yeah, give us the scoop.
Okay, so the first nightmare client is Russ.
No.
The popcorn ceiling man. No, just kidding. We love Russ.
Come on now.
But we do have a couple of doozies. Okay. Wow.
I know where to start.
I get like little heart palpitations when I start to think about these situations because they
always were so traumatizing.
They're stressful because, Kelly and I, we like
calm,
peace,
we like drama,
happiness. We don't like tension. We don't like any of that. And so when it comes at us, we just
it keeps me up at night. I'm not. I've worked really hard on my non-confrontational life. But
we got called by a woman. She lived out of the state, and she had worked with another designer who had taken advantage of her, and she really just couldn't get anybody in her area. So she wanted to seek out designers in Atlanta. And so she...
so we went to her house. It was tremendous. It was
probably one of the most beautiful homes I've ever been in.
Beautiful. And the designer that was there before did an okay job, but some of the things were out of scale, and it wasn't 100%.
But the strange thing was, there were things that were kind of missing. Like you would see a beautiful console, and then above the console there were a couple nail holes, but it was gone.
She took everything down that he put up that she didn't like.
Yeah, so the things she didn't like. So there were these empty spots. And so she kept saying over and over, it just didn't have a wow factor.
And she wanted every little thing down to the fiber of the carpet to be wow. And we're like, honey, okay, we're going to do wow, but everything has a place and a purpose, and it all comes together for wow. But that one particular pillow might be kind of like, yeah, that's pretty, but accompanied with this sofa or this pillow, then it's the wow.
It's kind of like the black dress that has the beautiful jewelry and the beautiful shoes. But if the dress was like the sequence, awesome, and then you have this wild wow jewelry, and then you have this wild, these wild shoes. I mean, it's like, it'll give you a headache.
Yeah.
So everything has its place, and you need some calm so that the wow will shine through.
So we're going to run out of time real quick. Talk about all these crazy people. But here's the bottom line with this lady. And I hated to do this. But so we give the presentation. And I think Joanne, did we do it? We shared it, but Joanne kind of had the lead on it. Now, we're not bragging, but literally on presentation day, a client may change one or two things. And that's it. She did not like the entire thing. We were like, oh God, we've never had this happen before. What do we do? So Joanne's like, I cannot deal with her. I have no brain space left. I gave it my all. I did everything she asked for. Can you take this over? I'm like, oh dear God, okay. So I take it over and I redo the entire thing.
Just as beautiful.
And just a little bit different. And she liked most of it. But then, so they left the presentation, they went home, and she calls and she sends this lengthy email and she starts changing stuff again. Mm-hmm. And we basically had to shut her down and say, we have given this 1,000% twice. You are very difficult to please, and we have given you time and again everything that you've asked for, even things that you brought to the table that you asked us to bring into the design, and then you turn around and question that. Yeah. So this is it.
This is a perfect example.
That was Zen.
This is the kind of table that I absolutely love. Okay, we go crazy to try to find it. We find it. We say, okay, here it is. Well, what do you think? Do you like it?
Oh my God.
What? So
I'm gonna die.
We'll move on.
That was a sleepless night. Okay, so real quick. So we have this client. She's an older woman, and she has this ranch home. She's never done anything with this house. She came into a little bit of money, and she decided she's going to renovate, and she's going to redo the whole thing. And boy, does she have particulars. She's kind of still back in the 60s with what she likes. So it was very difficult to kind of find exactly what she wanted in today's inventory. But she was so specific, like the color blue had to be exact. The design of the chair had to be exact. The toile had to be exact. It was, wow, it was tiring. So we presented to her one of the prettiest designs I think we've ever done. Like Joanne did this kitchen that just knocked your socks off. And she looked at the whole thing, and then did she like everything on that day? And then she went home and sent us an email and said...
Yeah, I think so. She seemed really happy with everything, and I think they get nervous, like to tell you they don't like it, which is perfectly fine if you don't like one or two things. But I think she got really nervous, and she went home and came back and said, okay...
She wanted to change.
She wanted to change.
She wanted to change everything, but it came in phases. Like the phone would ring and we'd be like, "Oh my God, she's calling again to change something," or she'd say, "Well, I really, I don't really need that chair because I don't. I'm not going to really sit in that chair." Wait a minute. Last week you told me that you don't sit on the sofa. Your husband sits on the sofa, and you have your own particular chair with your feet up that faces the TV. No, I didn't say that. I sit on the sofa.
You did.
Oh my gosh. We talked for an hour about the chair that you wanted for yourself. Anyway, psycho.
Yeah. So
I just couldn't.
This is the kind of stuff. Now here's another one that might be a good tip, for anybody. Yeah. So when we do an install, many times we're not doing a house that's completely empty. So there may be pieces or items that people have that are going to stay, and then there are things that are going to need to go. So I can't tell you how many people are not prepared, even though we tell them
exactly what to do.
Yeah, please have the area clean. Here's the one instance that happened pretty recently.
I am still traumatized.
So the woman of the house was traveling on business. Okay, so the man of the house was going to be home and in charge, and we were redoing his complete office, his home office. Now he worked for the government or something, so he had a lot of computers, wires everywhere, and so we were completely giving him a new chair, new furniture, everything. So when we got there, not one thing was moved out of his office. The wires were everywhere. Another thing that we were doing a huge portrait gallery wall for him. So 2 months prior, we had said, pick, this is the size photos we need. This is the orientation we need. We have all the frames. We're going to set up the whole gallery. Just have the pictures there. We get there. He still had to run to Walgreens to get the pictures.
No, but the most traumatizing thing of that day was, so Joanne's kind of working. We had the whole first floor to do. So I'm in the family room, and they had taken down, and I'm not exaggerating, 1,000 books.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, 800 books off the bookcases and put them in a pile in the sunroom. The sunroom that was going to be completely redone. So I had to move all 800 books to like
another location.
Well, we were doing the whole first floor. So I'm like, where do I put these? So there was a little spot, and there was one little room we weren't doing. So, I mean, lugging. But when I saw that pile, I just...
Well, we were sweating after like 30 minutes of being in there. Like we felt like we had worked an entire day.
I was so traumatized by that pile of books.
So then we had to add something to our contract that gives specific instructions. Yeah. So anyway.
All right. So let's just talk real quick about the lady with the mountain home. Okay. Now, some of our clients are medicated, which is totally fine. I medicated myself, but I think that she may have kept forgetting to take the medicine.
This was the Jekyll Hyde.
Yeah, it was. So we go to see her. She's got this amazing house, but she wants to update it. So we are there for like 3.5 hours because we really enjoyed her. We were chatting a lot. We give her this long design proposal for like the whole house. She comes back and she's like, okay, I'm just going to do the bedroom. Okay. So we give her the presentation and everything. She's so happy. It's incredible. And then the phone call comes, kind of the next week. Well, I was thinking about the space plan, and I don't think that chair will fit.
Back up for a second. But on install day, she was so happy. She literally like burst into tears. Like
she did.
She was thrilled.
But remember, before the install, all the phone calls like, I don't think that chair's going to fit where you're planning on putting it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure about those window we were like, yeah, it's going to fit. We measured. We know how to measure. We kind of know what we're doing. So she literally burst into tears sobbing on install day. She was so happy, and it really was so beautiful. And then next week, we got the call. Mm-hmm. I see a seam in the window treatments, and it's just not, they need to be redone. I said, they're double width panels,
which means they will always have a seam.
They will always have a seam. It's inside a pleat fold, so you'd have to really search for it. And that's when we finally had to say, I'm sorry, but they were professionally fabricated and professionally installed, and we aren't able to help you, which is so rare that we...
So like we said, out of the 13 years that we worked, we've had like 3 to 5 of these, which is not a lot in the scheme of things. But boy... when you get them, they're doozies.
Woo, they are. I mean, we could have told some stories about like, naked people in bedrooms or like really.
Well, we did. We did when we were measuring for a dust ruffle. This is not a nightmare thing. This is not a nightmare thing. This is like an embarrassing thing. So we were measuring at the box spring to get the finished length or the drop of the dust ruffle, and out comes a thong. And the client was standing right there. She's like, "Oh, no! I fold my laundry.
Daughters.
Yeah, those are my daughters. I fold my laundry there." She was just horrified. So anyway, we're getting.
You forgot to talk about the dog that puked right at your feet as we were walking up the stairs.
We've talked about that before.
Oh my God.
Okay, so this is my week for the inspiration quote, and Kelly will do the funny one. So, here it is. Don't compare your life to others. There's no comparison between the sun and the moon. They shine when it's their time. So, stay in your lane. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Somebody may be on the top of the world today, but they may be down in the dumps, a couple weeks from now. So just take things as they come, and don't worry about what anybody else is doing.
That's a great quote that I should have remembered as a mother of 2 daughters that were so different, because they did both shine at their own time, but I was constantly comparing them as they were growing up because they were so different. So, all right. So, Friday night we were at, if you live in Atlanta and you have ever enjoyed the amazing restaurant Little Alley, there's a location in Roswell, and they're just now opening one in Buckhead, across from Phipps Plaza, and we were invited by good friends to go to the soft opening. And it was one of the prettiest restaurants I've ever walked into in my life. So our friend is a great great wine guy, and he's always sharing his wine. So we were drinking a bottle of Fantasca wine, and I didn't know this, but all of their corks have a quote on the cork.
That's where you got
That's
this.
where I got this. So, and I had a good old laugh. Because I've already had a couple glasses of wine, so this was appropriate. So here we go. If I ever go missing, I'm already laughing, put my face on wine bottles instead of milk cartons. I want my friends to know to look for me.
That is awesome.
Yep, from the cork of our Fantasca wine bottle on Friday night. So there you go. I love it.
Love it.
All right. So we don't know what we're talking about next week because, again, this has been a no breathing week, and we're getting ready to go to Guatemala next Saturday.
Yeah, so by the time you hear the next one, we will have been back
Yeah.
from Guatemala. So
have no fear. We'll figure it out.
We'll talk about something. So just stay tuned.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. And we're going to go work on fabulous dream clients right now because thankfully we have no nightmare clients right now.
Yes.
Have a great week.
Unless Russ decides to come up with another.
I'll be your nightmare popcorn ceiling client.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
See you later.
Join Joanne and Kelly weekly for a lively conversation about trends, travels to industry events, current design projects, the good, the bad, and the ugly, do's and don'ts, product recommendations, and more. Be sure to follow the fun on Facebook. They're on Instagram at Kandrak Cole, and of course, you've got to visit them online at kandrak-cole.com for more information.